come and do this early discussion about this disease so that people can be sensitized on it. Okay, Antonelli, can you help us with some of the statistics? What has been the statistics of this monkeypox, the world, Africa, and let's say we get to Ghana?
Well, for the Africa,
okay,
as our brother said, for the specific statistics I may not have, but then, as he said, it has been found in Western and Central Africa countries. That's Cote d'Ivoire,
recorded cases in
Guinea, Ghana is and all the West African countries, most of the West African countries in the Central.
Now I'm interested.
But Ghana, yes, currently,
okay,
as at week 6 days ago, I think. Before then, when we heard that we have outbreak in Ghana, it was we say they have found 5 people, but now currently, for about 6 days, after 6 days ago, the population has increased to 18.
Well, 18.
So yes, it's like 18. So we are moving forward.
This is how it goes. So
yes, gradually. Like my brother said, COVID.
Yes.
Gradually,
yes,
it's imported.
Yes.
We are not. We had to.
Yes.
And look at it. Within a short time, we jumped to 18 already. So who knows? For as of today, I don't know what is going on. I don't have the current as for today. But 6 days ago, the statistics for Ghana is what I'm giving you.
Wow.
For 18.
That was for only 72 screening.
That was
they screened only 72 people.
Okay, when they screen 72 people, 18 already.
So if you are computing it,
and these are not imported cases.
The first 5.
The first 5 were imported cases.
Yes.
And they have infected.
Screening.
They have infected. You see, this is my worry. This is how it starts. So imported cases, then 2 people got it, 5, 7.
Yes.
Then the problem escalates.
Yes.
But this one, we can't complain that maybe they are bringing it here. In a sense that, just as I said, in 2 or 3, the cases that we recorded, the scripts that were found in Ghana, then led to the outbreak in that of the US. But as in specific human beings in here, no, that one we have not. So indeed, from that angle, we can say that then they brought it in.
Okay.
But the reservoirs, we are known for them.
Okay, are there some statistics with the world would want
yes,
to? Okay.
There's also, they've recorded now more than 500 cases worldwide.
500 cumulative.
Yes, so it's telling that it's also increasing as time goes on. It's increasing, but they still insist that there's no cause for alarm for yet. And then also, just as you said in the meeting, the only thing that came was that we should also try as much as possible to be alert for it. And then the vaccination aspect, maybe later on we'll come to that. But so maybe I can wait for a while.
Okay. All right. Well,
the reason why I think they said is not, we shouldn't be alarmed from the study. It's like out of 10 people, 1 dies out of 10, and most people also go, depending on maybe the immune system. Most people get through the process without any signs and symptoms. Just like the COVID, you realize that most of the Africans, most of us went through the infection without much. So even if you have the symptoms and the signs, they are mild form. Okay, so maybe that's why maybe they are saying there's no cause for alarm. But 10 people out of 1 person dying out of 10, I think we should be alert. It's an issue. Yes.
One of the main reasons why they are also not determined, we call something epidemiology as R0. That is capital R and the small 0 there. and that is telling about if one person gets a disease, how many people can they give it to? In that of this one, is now currently that they lifted it up to even 0 to 3, but for the over the years it had been only 1, meaning if one person gets it, the potential of spreading is to only another person, one person. Unlike COVID, which the transmission one was very, very high. So in this case, that's why it is not that much of concern to them that and also the second thing is the main transmission, the way that is transmitted is zoonotic one, so it's from animal to humans. The human transmission one is not that common. It's recently that something came up, that is all. But people are still defending it because if you look at now the current statistic that they have of all the cases they've recorded, about 60 to 70% are among gay. Men to men. So it's
I want to be. We just want to hope that God continues to remain an African, so that He help us. All right, listeners, you are tuned in on PENTHEALTH on PENTVARS Radio 96.1. Get interactive with us on 0501373351. The number is 050351. You can send us your comments, and our resource people will be happy to answer them for you. Okay, let's go. Are there types of this monkeypox disease? Is that right? Okay, Auntie Nelly.
Yes. Somehow we will say that maybe, but
there are types. Okay.
Yeah, I think Sir Bright has already said something about it. Like they are from the same genotype. Okay, the monkeypox virus and that of the smallpox. And the cowpox. And they have a condition for the cowpox. They are of the same genotype. Okay, so they have some similarities. So we will say that they are from the same species, but monkeypox is a monkeypox. There aren't specific types of, but the viral, causative virus, they are from the same genotype. Okay. So they are not.
To add to that is that the one they talk about in terms of severity about viruses or infectious agents, we normally look at what is called virulence. So based on the virulence level, they kind of group the same kind of organism do, but 2 different strains based on the virulence level. So they have the Congo strain, and then they have that of the West African strain also.
There is a Congo strain.
Yes, and that one is in simple in quote, no bagawaya. It is actually the one known to cause a lot of deaths related to, unlike that of the West African strain.
Who named it the Congo strain?
Possibly because the first person they noticed it in, and then the seriousness of it was also mainly there within that area.
Please tell them they shouldn't come and do a Ghana stream.
Because they
beg them.
So one of the meeting, the reason why they are also not they are saying there's no cause for alarm is that the current strain that is known worldwide is actually the one from the West African, the one that we call the West African strain, which is not that infectious, number one. And it is also not highly related to any sort of death. That's the reason why so far with the outbreak, no death has been recorded. So they are not. It's not the Congo strain that is is causing the outbreak.
This kind of talk. Oh, so far no death. So far this.
Yes.
And we understand viruses. They keep mutating.
Yes. So now, just as they're saying that the 2 strains, and then the wild one is not the one causing the outbreak now. So the West African strain, 1, cannot actually infect more people. 2, it doesn't also normally lead to death. So, and it's self-limiting. By 2 to 4 weeks, you should be okay.
2 to 4 weeks.
Yes, but the only danger in it is whether you will be same again. With all this rush on your body. So that's kind of the reason why there's not much of cause for alarm.
Okay. All right, let's go and box it together. Let's talk about the signs, the symptoms, and how it's transmitted. Antonelli, let's first begin with how is it transmitted, and then let's go into the signs and then the symptoms.
The mode of transmission, we have the direct contact, maybe direct contact with the infected animal, or maybe objects, okay, by bodily fluid or blood. If you have direct contact with it, you can. And we can it can also be transmitted through the respiratory tract, through inhaling the droplets, or through broken skin. Okay, though it may not be visible, it may be some little abrasion or whatever. So far as the meconium, there is a break in continuity of the skin, no matter how small it is. When this body fluid come in contact with this body fluid, the transmission can occur, and also through the conjunctiva of the eyes. So these are the mode of transmission for the virus.
Okay, you want to
and
the signs, the signs and the symptoms.
Well, for the signs and symptoms, we have the almighty fever.
Okay.
Because the body will fight for those foreign bodies that has entered. So the fever will be there. And of course, if there is fever, headache will follow.
Okay. It's automatic. If there is a fever, the headache.
Well, you see the heat regulatory center in the brain. Of course, if there's fever, there will be headache, backache, and swelling of the lymph nodes. Okay. Then bodily ache as well. Then this happens, and then we get the pump rash. Initially, it starts like a bump. A purple type of rash. That's it. But later, there is this vesicular type that it starts accumulating fluid, then eventually it causes pus. Okay, when it causes pus, of course, when there is pus, of course, the skin, there will be sore under the fluid, and with time, you see that it dries off the pus, then becomes a scab. Then it falls off by itself. Okay, when it becomes scab, it's hardened. So those some of the signs and symptoms that we go through. But the incubation period is about 5 to 13 days.
5 to 13 days.
To the time of the developing of the signs and symptoms. Then after the incubation period, then the rash, maybe 2 to 3 days, then the rash also follows.
All right. I saw pictures. I've seen. I think that's a usual phenomenon we associate the monkeypox disease with, the rash. The way the rashes come, you mentioned that it's self-limiting. The rashes will go.
Yeah. That's what they go through stages. So it starts as a flat sort of bump in there with a small raise. Then as time goes on, as she said, it comes vesicular, meaning it's just building up fluid. But this fluid, when it comes out, is just clear, some whitish fluid. And they are highly infectious at that point too. At that stage, they are very highly infectious. And then from there, it comes to what we call the pustula. That means now it's accumulating pus, and pus is formed from when the body is trying to fight infectious organisms like these viruses, and then the debris that are formed, the waste products that are formed, they start accumulating them. So as time goes on, as she said, it will then burst on its own. The fluid will come out, then it starts forming the crust. It dries up. So when the crust is falling off, the entire rash that was there will fall off, and then the skin there will become smooth, some gray-like sort of thing left on the skin. Then some few days it turns black. So those are the stages that it goes in. But just something small about the transmission. We normally put them in 2 or 3 main forms. One is the fact, which is the major thing, is getting it from the organisms, the rodents and all those ones, since it's a zoonotic sort of disease. Then the second one, which is very mild, is getting it from another human being, so which we term as community transmission. That one is minimal compared to we getting it from that of the animals. So the animals is the major one, and their respiratory droplets and all those things. So the main thing that is with it, that even now, if you want to maintain the COVID restrictions, we can't overcome it. Is the fact that you need to come into contact face to face with somebody for long, because one of the main and the highest most form that human beings can transfer it is by respiratory droplets, and these ones are heavy, so they fall a short distance. So you should be in contact with somebody for long before the person can actually give it to you. But since we've relented on the COVID ones, it means we are all in danger. You can still get it. So that is the main. Then the last one is normal surfaces. Just also what we call the formites. But you can also pick it from there, and then we get it.
That's if some of, let's say, the pus, right?
And mainly mucous membrane. So now the major concern is, and the debate is it sexually transmitted? It's not sexually transmitted, but it is also one of the best things that it uses in transferring from one person to the other is the mucous membrane. So if there's any break in the mucous membrane, and the very common place you can have a break in mucous membrane is during sexual intercourse. Then the next one, this highest most form of break you can ever get, is when it's not hetero but it's mono. That means male to male, because there the abrasions are a lot in the mucous membrane, so it becomes easier for you to spread. So it is not just by chance that the statistics is saying that we are seeing cases in them in terms of from one human to the other, more in the homosexuals.
MSM.
Wow. There are questions in the studio for us. This is Priscilla from Yabuaho. She's asking, can they please tell us the kinds of rodents? Then there's another question. The person didn't add the name. The person is asking, is it an airborne disease? Is it an airborne
disease, as we said?
Okay.
So if I'm talking, the droplets is the air that carries it to the other person. Yes. And the rodent that he is talking about, Sir Bright mentioned the squirrel, the rat, the mice. So all manner of rodents can. For as he said earlier on, we don't have specific rodent that we say that they are there solely that will harbor and they are transmitted to other rodents. We don't have, but all manner of rodents, I think, can be source of reservoir.
So if people have rats and mouse,
yes.
So the major thing of prevention, now they tell you that we should try as much as to limit contact with those ones. Of which they are already members in our homes.
we should limit contact to rodents.
Yes, of which they already housemates.
Why people are having contact to rodents?
Oh, now even they are perching. Rodents are perching in the homes of people. But one thing about the airborne is normally microbiologically, when we talk about airborne, we call something nuclear. That means droplet nuclear. And then the normal droppings that we talk about, or droplets that we talk about, are heavy. That's like when you sneeze. So these ones are heavy drops that do not go distance. That means from the individual from which that it came from. But the droplet nuclei are dried form of the droplets, the watery ones, the heavy ones that dropped. So when they get dried, that's where they form the droplet nuclei. In that case, that is where they classify it as airborne. Why? Because it's dried, the wind can easily blow it from one place to the other. But the droplet ones, they normally don't go far. The major reason why, if we still use the masks, is very much important, especially in close contact with each other, because that one will automatically stop the droplets. But if they fall down and they dry to form the droplet nuclei, that is where it becomes airborne, where the wind can easily blow it from one way or the other. So yet it has been considered to be kind of airborne, but with the current statistics, they can still approve it. You remember the same thing happened to COVID. They dragged before finally they said there are some instances where it is considered as airborne, but there are some instances where it is not. So in this case, currently it's still the droplets, and then the watery droplets are not actually considered as airborne, but they've not also ruled out the fact that it is not airborne. Why? Because if they land, they will definitely dry. When they dry, the wind will carry it.
Okay. Ishmael from Koferidia is asking, how can one distinct these nodules from acne? And he's also asking, how long will it stay on the surface? I think he wants to mean how long is it effective when
With the rash. Is it the rash?
Yeah, the first question is, how will someone distinct that rash from acne? And then his second question was, how long does it stay on the surface? And I want to believe he's saying, if there's a droplet on the surface, how long is it effective?
For that one, it's dependent on the environment. As in, it can easily base if you're in a highly humid place. It means it will take some time to dry.
Okay.
If you are in our places, it means about a day or two. It will certainly dry up because of the high temperatures we have. Places. I don't know whether you take that of the rash.
With the acne, I think it's basically on the face.
Yes.
But with this one, it's on the face, the arm, the palm, the lower limbs, and yes.
Okay.
So this can be a different, and that one they are big. It goes through a process, stages, and at a point in time, you see that it becomes big. Become big, and the pus is so much. Unlike the acne. Yes, so that difference is there. Acne found it on our face, but this one it can be even at the back. And they are big all over the body.
Wow.
There are people who have some of that in their mouths.
In their
mouth.
In their mouth.
Yes.
As in the monkey pox.
Yes. And then the soles of their feet. So you call some. Then one of the major differences you can also see between them, acne always have a pointed edge, which becomes that reddened through which you can actually burst it and you can take it out. The sebum that is accumulated, and you can actually take it out. But this one, the accumulation of the pus that is formed makes it rounded in a way, but it doesn't have any specific point in there, but it takes the entire color of the pus which is slightly yellowish. So if you're fair, we can see that much of the yellow nature of it. But if you're kind of dark, then the skin will kind of dim it small.
So can they burst
and
it?
they are big in sizes compared with the acne. Yes.
So you burst it and you're free?
No.
Which one are you talking about?
The monkey pox.
Monkey pox. You are not. At that point, actually, that is why you burst it and you take the fluid from it and test. So at that point, the person is highly infectious. Highly infectious. So I don't think you have to encourage it. And actually, it's itchy in some people and also tends to be painful slightly. So I don't think you would want to even try it.
Okay. Beatrice Ananho, she's asking, what age group can get infected with this monkeypox?
So all age groups,
specific age.
But children are highly at risk.
Children?
Yes.
Children?
Yes, are highly at risk.
As in 1 to 18?
No, in this case 9, 10 there are highly at risk to it, mainly because this organism, to looking at the nature of it, is not necessarily, remember we've already established the fact that it's not highly virulent. And any time any organism is not highly virulent, the immune system of the human being, if your immune system is strong, you tend to always kind of overcome it or keep it down, that it cannot actually express itself too much. And then when we pick life, at the two ends of life, those two groups there, their immune system kind of dwindles more. So children, DS is down, and then the adults to DS will also come down. But the in between kind of have stronger immune system.
COVID, elderly, those with underlying diseases, the children, no. All of a sudden, children should go and get vaccinated. All right, listeners, this is PENTHEALTH on PENTVARS Radio 96.1. Keep your questions coming through. The number is 050-137-3351. After the show, pictures of what's happening in the studio and images of the monkeypox issues will be posted on our IG page at PENTHEALTH, so we can continue the conversation on our Instagram page. Okay, let's see. What are the complications that come with, Antonelli, what are the complications that come with infection or this disease?
The complication, getting the lymph nodes swollen is a form of complication. Then it means that the lymphatic system is affected. And you know the work of the lymphatic system. So if your lymph nodes have been affected and is getting swelling, and intervention is not given, you know what it will reduce your immune system and any other infection also. So you are liable to all manner of other conditions.
Okay.
And the other, when it's in the severe form, when the nerves too are affected, your nervous system also have problems. Okay. And like our brother said, when the scabs are falling off, oh, it's not a complication, but will I say it's disfigure the skin. You are disfigured somehow, not so much, but your skin becomes
some color be.
You will not have your smooth skin. It's like when you had chicken pox. If you have suffered before, you see that there is that skin. Your skin doesn't become smooth again.
Yeah.
Okay, but this one you regain it, but it will take a long time. And eventually, maybe if you are not careful, maybe the death, as we said, you may lose your life.
Okay. Something small about the complications. One of the major complications that we look at, but before we come there, the swollen lymph nodes happen to be one of the key marks that we are supposed to take note of it in terms of identifying whether you are having suffering from monkey pox, because we can still have other rashes like even the smallpox itself, and even identifying it from chicken pox, just in case because remember we said the person's question about the acne, we said the acne is found on your face. What about chicken pox, which will take over all the entire body? How would you differentiate between them? So one of the major things is the swollen lymph nodes on the base of the neck and also back of the ear, and also within the groins, all those places that you pay attention to. Actually, now is the major indicator that everybody is supposed to pay attention to. If you're having this heat, high body temperature, some sort of headache, and all those, and then within the same 3 days, you start identifying swollen lymph nodes, you report as early as possible, and then by God's grace, maybe early intervention, those rashes and all those can be controlled as much as possible. But because of the rashes that are forming, the major complication there is secondary infection, where bacteria will not come and infect that of the rashes that you have on your skin to complicate it. That one would be something else altogether when you have a secondary infection of it. And then also bronchopneumonia, because some of the organisms, remember we said they infect the respiratory tract. And now sepsis. And which one is sepsis? Sepsis is when the organisms get into that of the blood and then they start multiplying excessively in there. So these are the major complications, but there are some small amount or number of cases of encephalitis, which that one is the highest most form of complication. That is infection of the brain, which will certainly lead to a lot of issues. But these are complications apart from that of the secondary infection that happens a lot with most of them, especially if the person comes from Africa, and then you have these nodules bursting out, even where to sleep, the clot and all this, certainly secondary infection or setting. So most of the pictures we see, the nasty ones, it looks as if they are bursting off and all that, are also indications of secondary infections that are happening to them in there. So that's major complications of it. And then the long-term effect, what they term as sequelae, is those dark spots. She said it's not that of late aesthetic reasons. It's not easy. It's not easy. So it's also something serious.
So I'm thinking, when they have the rashes,
a little to add on the encephalitis. At times when the encephalitis sets in, maybe it will cause some sort of derailment of the. You may not regain your brain senses again. Yes, when it's so severe, the encephalitis, yes, it will may cause some sort of delirious sort of behavior and those things.
Wow. Michael from Sappho Hall is asking, is sore throat a symptom of this disease also? Is sore throat a symptom of this disease also?
Yes. Sore throat is part.
Sore throat is also a symptom.
Yes.
Okay.
May not necessarily be due to it, because by the time that you're getting the first 1 to 4 days, the rashes starts from that of the 4 days onwards. And then the reason why we said the bronchopneumonia, there's some sort of irritations in there that comes, but sore throat would definitely be a secondary infection in there. The organisms themselves really do not thrive in there to cause that kind of higher irritation to lead to that. But if the person is getting a secondary infection at right onset, when there's a small break in the mucosal membrane there, and then certainly an organism also takes advantage and then comes on board, then certainly it will set in. But it's not something really that if you have it that you're supposed to be of concern, unless all the others, specifically the swollen lymph nodes that she spoke about, thing that you're going to use to differentiate and tell, because that one is always a must. It's supposed to happen. So if that one is mainly happening, then you can actually tell, so that people do not get that much scared when they get so because of normal bacterial infection can also lead to that. But please do look out for you should mainly look out for the other conditions before that one comes on board. Actually, when we talk about the signs and symptoms, there are a lot based on the specific individual. The most common ones that you're supposed to add up to is the one that we are just talking about. So several other things based on the individual can also come on board.
Okay. What's happening with the diagnosis and management in Ghana? And like, what's Ghana's approach? Let's talk about how. So let's say, how is it diagnosed and managed? Then what is Ghana? What has been the response of Ghana so far? What's happening there?
Did you hear what she first did? She said,
the management, like we have said earlier on, based on your complaints and the signs that we see. Maybe you may be diagnosed through that and lab investigation.
So with the diagnosis,
PCR. Amid all these ones, the major indicator being the swollen lymph nodes, and then if you've gotten into the 4th day, then the rashes that are coming up. These are the major things they're looking at. If not, the major confirmation is PCR.
So is it happening testing?
You do PCR when you know you have come in contact with. That's when you do the PCR, and because if the PCR will determine the virus, whether you have when you are exposure. The signs and symptoms have not started, but you yourself, you know that you have been exposed. You do the PCR, and then the other investigation may be taking past. That is when it has gone through the stages, and so the PCR is done either with or earlier. If you know you have come in contact or you have moved from a country where there is outbreak, when you come, then you opt for the PCR to be done.
So the kits, let me say, the kits are available in Ghana. It's happening.
Okay, for our place, in fact, you have to isolate the person. If the person is diagnosed, the person needs to be isolated. So there should be a place for isolation, and the person is put on treatment. Basically, because it's a viral infection, this sort of viral medications, are used to, and frequent hand washing, and there's barrier nursing, as I'll say. If the person is diagnosed, of course, there should be a barrier nursing. Barrier nursing is you protecting yourself with all the PPEs, your masks, your overall, and those things. Yes, there should be a barrier nursing. The person is isolated, and for prevention, that's basically the management. And maybe we will, wherever the person is coming from, maybe the house. Who have you contacted? Those maybe we'll go to
almighty
the house,
contact tracing.
Look for people who have come
which
in
never
contact.
Finishes.
But so far as from somebody, you have come in contact with somebody, then it means that the person is exposed. Okay, so if the person is exposed, the person should be found out, and maybe the necessary help that should be given to the person.
So has Ghana launched this surveillance like
on the 14th of June? The DJ,
the
Director General of Ghana Health Service, had a meet the press to kind of convince us about readiness and all that. But the good news of it is we don't necessarily have to be ready anymore. Why? Because of the COVID. So all the needed things that you need to do for COVID, the same thing you're doing for this person. And then the reason why we should be, in as much as we have been through COVID and still maybe possibly come back to the same measures and protect ourselves, there is no cure, there is no specific treatment. So the main term is management. So you are managing if you have the symptomatic management. Based on the one that is appearing, that's what you are managing. So you give the person body fluids. Why? Because the past formation is also a kind of loss of body fluids. You restore those body fluids, and then you manage the body temperature if it's high, any sort of headache, and then all that. And then mainly viral disease are self-limiting. And also remember the secondary infections. You try possibly, if there is any, you give antibiotics to stop, and then a few sort of viral medications, as she said, that are available just to limit overspreading, if especially the person's immune system is over multiplication, let me put it that in that same individual, just in case the person's immune system is mainly down. So the key thing there is that we are supposed to take note is that if you get it, it's only going to be management. There's nothing like treatment. We are waiting for the virus to get tired and he himself or she. Is the virus he or she?
It's a hermaphrodite.
It's a hermaphrodite. No, this one, since they said if you educate a woman, if you educate the nation, I think this virus
the woman.
So you're just waiting for the virus to get tired and leave. So it's good we all try, be alert, obey all the rules and regulations, and try as much as possible to prevent ourselves from getting it.
Okay.
Anytime you hear of the fact that a condition is not mainly going to be treated but managed, it means a lot. It means your own state of body, and then the virus own, the organism's own decision is what is at stake there. So it's good we prevent ourselves from getting it as much as possible.
I'll come into proper prevention, but this is from Na Ko. I'm never able to mention that name more. Na Ko Koi. She's asking, can I be taking vitamin C to prevent this disease?
Vitamin C, it helps in absorption of nutrients, and when we talk about nutrients that improve our health, so you do that just to improve your immunity, but you can't take it to, yes, if the immune system is strong, like we said, that some people go through without any signs and symptoms, yes, but to prevent it per se with vitamin C, I don't think. But you can take the vitamin C so that it will help with the
you enhance your immune,
improve your immune system. It doesn't prevent it, please.
All right.
It doesn't prevent it.
We are not using it in terms of prevention, but you are using it to put yourself in a sort of readiness, just in case you encounter it. Then you can actually be able to fight more than the organism can. So that is it. There, but not necessarily preventing, but you putting yourself up to, just like going to write examination.
All right.
If you learn and learn and learn, it doesn't mean you won't write it.
Portia from your Yobaho is asking, so has vaccination for this disease begun?
No, there's no need for vaccination.
There's no need for vaccination.
We don't have a vaccine for it. One. And then the nature at which it is spreading, I don't think the world will spend their money to form any specific vaccine for it. But the good news is that the smallpox, that outbreak that we had, those people who had been vaccinated, they stopped. Before we came here, I was trying to ask my boss about the last time we stopped it. But for US, it's about 40 to 50 years ago. So those and 50, they are kind of slightly immune to it because they've taken the smallpox. And as long as you've taken the smallpox vaccine, it means you are kind of immune, or you have some sort of immunization against the current one. But since they eradicated it and they stopped, there are a lot of the age groups here. My boss was telling me that it seems somewhere 2009, 2010, or 11. That's where we stopped the smallpox vaccination here completely. After the WHO had said that they were destroying the organism in 2014. But before that, was where it stopped. So maybe people from that coming, if you were born within that era, certainly you were vaccinated with smallpox, and then you will have some stuff. But it's about 80 to 85% immunity. The remaining one is also very much important.
It is so.
The remaining 15
lessons,
or 10% is highly important.
Lessons from COVID, it is.
Yes.
Okay, finally, how do we, I know you've mentioned it in bits and pieces, but how should the university community, how should students, how should faculty members prevent this disease? And then we'll do a wrap up. Antonelli.
But we've said a lot.
Yeah.
The prevention is basically like the COVID practice, what we are practicing to protect ourselves from COVID is the same. In the same vein, we have to do that for prevention. The frequent hand washing.